My good Asian siblings, I'm tired that the white man's tactics keep working on us. They always treat us like the perpetual foreigner. You see how they did us during COVID, Chinese Exclusion Act, concentration camps, now icing our neighborhoods. We try to break this label by assimilating and emulating the white man model of success. We worship their institutions, their titles of prestige and salaries. They block us from going to these institutions. Then white men use the Asians as the face of the movement to dismantle affirmative action. And we get admitted even less now amongst other marginalized communities. Why are we fighting so hard to be part of an institution that doesn't want us there to begin with? Then they give us symbolic victories like the Stop Asian Hate Crime Bill, which there is Asian hate, but when other communities are also getting brutalized and there's nothing but silence, this victory just becomes another point of tension devised by the white man to separate us from everybody else. And then we see some of us physically doing the white man's bidding, emulating the racism, anti-blackness, violence, to the point where we're taking people's lives. Then the white man let us walk free. Why? To continue to divide us and other marginalized communities. It's all part of the Grand Master Plan to reinforce these institutions and systems that the white man has created to maintain their power and control over everybody else. Do not be a white devil in Asian skin. Do not fall for the white man tactics.
A powerful debate is unfolding as some Asian voices openly discuss race, civil rights, solidarity, and growing tensions between the Black and Asian community. Remember, there is ongoing boycott. Other people are calling it, wealth transfer. They are calling it that proudly. Now, the first speaker argues that Asians have been used by white people to divide marginalized groups while benefiting powerful systems that keep, communities separated. But now, that's the beginning. In this video, we will hear several Asians make striking statements about civil rights movement, Black solidarity, business boycotts, anti-Black racism, and accountability. Don't forget, they are also talking about community relations. I mean, what are they admitting? What are their concerns? What's the concerns they are raising, and why are these comments generating such strong reactions today online? Remember, all these people are Asians. What are they saying? Let's dive into this. If this is your first time, please subscribe for more of this. Otherwise, I'll see you at the end, and I wish you all the best.
Next is the people who are viewing solidarity as transactional. I think it's corny, because to me it's about principles and integrity. I don't care how many or how few people are jacking righteousness, but I'm gonna, feel how I feel and express how I feel, right? And I'm open to new information and perspectives to change my mind, but, I'm sticking with integrity. I don't care if you like me. I don't care if you think I'm pandering. This is just my viewpoint, and, I have few friends and no shorties, but also historically, we can't deny that it was Black people who led the civil rights movement, where every other marginalized group was able to benefit from that movement. So Asians, listen up. There are historical examples of Asians in solidarity movements, right? All the movements that happened in the past, there were Asians fighting alongside that. Facts. But you are not that. So unless you're doing your part, I don't want you riding the coattails of someone in the past for you not to do anything today. Simple as that. And finally, with respect to the boycotts, I'm rocking with it. So, historical context. Early wave immigration. White man blocks Asians from opening businesses in white neighborhoods, but they'll approve the loans for Asians opening in Black neighborhoods, while they still block loans from Black people opening businesses in Black neighborhoods. And, even instances where there are thriving Black communities, the white man destroys it, right? Look at Tulsa, Black Wall Street. Look at Seneca Village, Central Park, New York City. And these are just two examples off the top. And, this creates tension, add a model minority myth, learn anti-Blackness. So these people still operate stores today, harassing customers, following them in stores. They even have a phrase, hurry up and buy. So yes, I'm rocking with the boycott. So you either get right with the communities or get your ass out of there. If you didn't want to do business in the first place. And unfortunately, money is a language that people listen to over human lives. it shouldn't have gone to this point.
Why is there this conflation of an attack on one being an attack on an entire community, when the focus from the Black community is not on the entire community, rather it's really focused on this particular case?
Well, first of all, a boycott is not an attack.
Yes.
A boycott is not an, okay, like full stop. Okay. And the fact that the reactions are even trying to conflate, it's just not permissible. If it's okay, Dr. Shola, I noticed in the comments section that some people are asking what Asian American means. May I?
Yes, please, please.
Share a little bit of context. So I think here, a lot of times Asian American is conflated with East Asian, so like Chinese, Japanese, Korean. But Asian American in the US context is a huge pan-ethnic identity with over like 50 languages and 30 ethnicities, I believe. And so it makes sense that in a moment like this, our responses as a collective are so heterogeneous because we are so heterogeneous as a people. Our relationships to whiteness, Blackness, American empire, imperialism are all very different. Many folks who do get categorized as Asian American in the US Census actually materially have much more in common with Black and Latinx folks and Indigenous folks in this country. And then there are, of course, studies that show high rates of education and income amongst East Asian folks. And when we look at these cases of killing and violence against Black people when Asian people are involved, a lot of times it is East Asians. And so that's just, I think, just important context to name for us. Additionally, I think, now I'm like forgetting the original question, but like why this response, right? Oh, I do think like, I'm noticing in this particular response with the call to boycott, a lot of Asian Americans are taking this as an opportunity to center ourselves.
Girl, where the fuck have you been? You see, there's this piece of shit Chinese man that owns a convenience store inside of a gas station, and somehow he convinced some poor woman to let him fuck her and have a child named Andy Chow. And Andy Chow is indoctrinated to hate Black people by his racist father, Rick Chow. So when this 14-year-old Black kid named Cyrus walked into their convenience store, they asked him, hey, leave your bag at the front desk. And with their inherent racism against Black people, they believed that he stole a 50-cent water bottle, so they chased him 100 yards with a gun. And Andy Chow, being a lying racist piece of shit, yells, he has a gun! So his father, Rick Chow, shoots Cyrus in the back because apparently when your back is towards somebody, you're a threat to them. And apparently when you're the one being chased by two people, you're a threat to them. And apparently when a person is so scared that their convenience store will be robbed, they'll leave it unattended to run 100 yards away from the convenience store so somebody else could just walk in and rob the register. Make it make sense. So these two racist chinks were found not guilty for murdering Cyrus Carmack, a 14-year-old boy who did not steal anything. And then the Black community got all mad because Asian people weren't speaking up about this atrocity, this terrible verdict, the murder of a 14-year-old Black boy. So the Black community said, fuck this, we're gonna boycott all Shell gas stations. But a dumb fucking Asian doesn't know when to shut the fuck up. So that dumbass fucking Asian said, bet, why don't you boycott us? We don't need your money. Not realizing that he shot himself in the foot and wonders why his foot is bleeding. And once that video went viral, the Black community is like, you know what? Fuck it. We're not just going to boycott Shell gas stations. We're going to boycott all Asian businesses. And Asians are now experiencing the FAFO that they deserve. Because, you know what? If you shoot yourself in the foot, of course it's going to bleed, you dumbass. And you know what? This is one nurse that's not going to wrap your foot to stop it from bleeding.
People are calling the boycott of Asian businesses collective punishment. You know, I can see why they think that, but for me personally, I'm holding off on that assessment. You need to realize this is a very natural response, in my personal opinion, and it's very mild in the sense that I'm seeing people bring up collective punishment in the sense like, oh, people saw one thing and then they took it out through violence. They rioted through the streets and attacked their businesses. This is purely just a boycott. This is people choosing not to spend their money at certain businesses. All right. This is perfectly within legal limits. Okay. Another point I want to bring up is even without an organized boycott, people already made up their minds when they saw on the news that another kid has been killed by an Asian business owner. Let's say there is a restaurant franchise, one location accidentally food poisons their clientele, and news spreads around, and people around the United States decide to avoid that franchise altogether. Is that collective punishment? I don't really think so, all right? I think collective punishment in this situation would be if people across the United States decides to burn down every single franchise they can find, despite that one specific location being the one at fault. I think you can just argue that this is poor marketing from Asian business owners, all right? The fact that there's already a record of Asian business owners killing Black kids, that's horrible marketing. Why would, just think about it for a moment. Do you think the Black community would have somewhat concerns shopping at Asian businesses knowing that there's a record of Asian business owners killing Black kids? Think about that for a moment. I feel like, again, that's why I feel like this is a natural response. This is a natural response to a kid getting killed. People are going to call this pandering. They're going to call me performative, even call me a traitor. And I understand where they're coming from, but for something like this, I like to try to not have as much ego as possible, because just think about it like this. Let's say there is no boycott. Let's say people react as if nothing happened after this kid tragically died. What type of accountability would you see from the Asian community? What type of action would you see from the Asian community? And I think that is a brutal question, because I worry there won't be any accountability at all.
Welcome back, brothers and sisters. Now, after listening to all these Asian voices, I think what seems to be like the main message here is that many of these Asian speakers seem to be saying that there are serious issues, serious concerns that cannot be, simply ignored anymore, okay? But they have to be discussed. They argue that the conversations about race, about accountability, about community relations and historical tensions need to be, discussed, need to happen, openly, okay? Again and again. Whether people are comfortable with them or not, but they have to be discussed. Now, what are they trying to admit? First, several speakers openly acknowledge that anti-Black attitudes exist within parts of the Asian community. They argue that these attitudes did not just, it didn't just appear out of nowhere. Okay, it didn't just come, but it was developed through historical systems, stereotypes and the social conditioning, where since they were born, they were raised to hate Black people. Some even admit certain business owners have created tension through disrespectful treatment of Black customers, okay, Black people, when they go to their shops to buy. Something they believe has damaged the trust over time. It didn't just happen or come in one day. Second, some of them acknowledge that Black Americans played a major role in the civil rights movement. Now, look at them. They are trying to admit this. Of course, not all Asians can admit this. Yes, they know, but they cannot openly, out of, they're just, proud. They cannot say this. They don't want to look cheap. That's the problem. But look at this one, is acknowledging that. In fact, they point out that many minority groups, benefited from gains, achieved through that struggle of Black people. And their argument is just simple. If people praise those historical sacrifices, then they should also be willing to stand up against injustice today by, treating, Black people as people, okay? Black people are not asking for this. They're not demanding this. No, it's just their right. They don't need to beg somebody to treat somebody. No, to treat them like somebody. No, it's just their right. There is no negotiation. So another thing, like the third point, is that some speakers, some Asians admit that there has not been always enough accountability when controversial incidents like occur, okay? They suggested that silence after high-profile cases creates a frustration, that sort of division, especially when communities are looking for public condemnation or, at least meaningful action, okay? As a group, what did you do? Okay, the leaders within the community, are they trying to say, these people, they're our people, they have done this, but we say we are condemning that. Okay, so there is lack of that. Now, what are they like concerned about? What's the concern they are raising? One major concern is about division. Now, several of these speakers, they argue that the communities are being pushed into conflict with one another instead of working together on shared problems. They worry that the ordinary people end up fighting each other while larger systems remain untouched. The systems that create this environment where communities will be like fighting and they're just sitting down benefiting. Another concern is solidarity, and now let's talk about it. What exactly does solidarity really mean? Because so many people look at it in different ways. Is it something people support only when it benefits them personally, or what exactly is this? Or is it something that should be based on the principles, should be based on the understanding between people, between community, and even when there is no personal benefit or reward involved? What exactly should we define solidarity? Now that question repeatedly came throughout the video again and again. Another concern they raise is about what's that? It's about representation. Yes, some speakers argue that Asian Americans are often treated as one giant group, even though the community includes many different backgrounds, cultures, histories, and experiences. They believe that this can sometimes oversimplify complicated issues. Now, when it comes to this, these Asians are worried that they're just treated as like they're just Asians. Now, black people still have questions. If that's the case, why is it that we have cases where Asians will treat, black Africans, those people in Africa, those people in Caribbean, it's like wherever there is an Asian and a black person, it's like we'll see these Asians treat these black people as less human. So it's like to Asians, all black people are black people. But now look at them. They want black people to look at Asians as not all Asians are like one. Some Asians are like bad Asians, others are like good Asians. That's how Asians want to be treated. Yet black people will question, like, how do you look at as black people and then you just generalize as black people are black people? I hope you get the meaning. So is it fair? So I think there is a need to look at it, so it has to be fair. If you don't want to be grouped as one Asian, then the same should be done to black people. And there is another concern about the boycott. Now this issue is coming again and again. Several speakers argue that the boycott is not the same as an attack. Their position is that the people have the right to choose where they spend their money. It's just their money. They can decide where they want the money to go. So whether people agree with that or they don't agree, but it is clearly one of the biggest debates happening right now, not only in this video as these people are discussing, but this thing is happening. Some people believe that economic pressure is a legitimate form of protest. It's just protest, not an attack. It's just unfortunate that most Asian people, I don't know whether it's most, but some of them are defining this wealthy transfer of black people as an attack. By doing that, they are trying to do all sorts of things to revenge, to put pressure to black people as if black people are attacking somebody. So these Asians say it's not an attack. It's just another way of protesting. It's just that it's just an economic protesting. I can just put it that way. Now, others believe it risks creating, even more tension when people are boycotting, others are not. But either way, the issue is generating strong reactions from all sides. Another concern, which was also raised throughout these discussions is about, accountability. Now, what happens after a controversial incident? What responsibility do community leaders have, or even these community members who are speaking online, these Asians, what were they doing when, some of their people did something wrong to black people, what responsibility do they do? Now, when it comes to boycott, what responsibility do business owners have? What responsibilities do ordinary people have? These are questions that many of these speakers believe still need answers, though I know nobody can answer these because they are hard to answer. But yeah, they are reality. Now, whether you agree with everything being said in this video or you don't agree, but I think one thing is clear. These speakers are not pretending that these issues do not exist. They are acknowledging that, yeah, there is indeed racism in, some, I don't know whether many or all the community of Asians, I don't know. They are openly discussing subjects that many people avoid. They are talking about race. They're talking about history. Okay, they're talking about business relationships. They're talking about trust. Okay, that has been lost between Asians and the black customers. They're talking about accountability. Those conversations may be uncomfortable. Let's be honest. They may be uncomfortable, but they are conversations that many people believe are shaping current debate. And at the end of the day, the biggest question may not be like who is right, like who is wrong. I don't think that can be so divisive. But I think the biggest question should be maybe, just maybe, should be communities. Can communities find a way to address these concerns without creating even deeper divisions? I hope that should be the best question. That's the question many people should be asking right now. Now, let me know what you think in the comment section. If this was your first time here, make sure to subscribe, turn on notifications, and join us for more discussions and breaking stories. Above all, yeah, I trust in black people, and yeah, there is power in black people. This is why people keep stoning them. The tree that has so many fruits is the one that gets stoned. This is why black people have been traumatized, marginalized. They have been stoned ever since, for generations and generations, but they are still flourishing. So yeah, I trust in black people. See you next time. What's your take on this? Let's discuss, and I'll proudly love to read your comments. See you soon.